Okay, so as you can see here, I have a tier list up on the screen. But first, I will say this is not a meta list. This is just me telling you on, or not even me telling you on who to level or who to get. This is just me, letting you know what my plans are for the launch of Wuthering Waves and which characters that I plan to level and what teams I will focus on. Because honestly, I feel like when in these type of games, you should really play characters who you think are fun. Basically, besides, what is gonna happen is you're gonna be leveled. Or you're going to be gate kept by your union level, or which is basically your account level, and your resources will be limited. So you're really gonna have to choose on who you're gonna level, and I'm just hoping that this will basically give you more information so that you can make a more informed decision when the game launches. Now, a lot of this will be based on my experience from CBT2, and mostly on how I felt a character would play, how the combat would feel, rather than the meta. Because we're like a lot of the information I have is from CBT2. We don't know how they have changed the characters, how much they have changed, and we do know that Kuro Games does listen to player feedback, and there have been quite a number of feedback on some of the characters. So we'll see how the meta will evolve. That's why I'm not basing this on meta. And another factor, I guess, on this list is my experience with other gacha games will probably come into play, especially I am a seasoned player of Kuro Games' previous title, which is Punishing Gray Raven, and I think PGR, how my experience in that game will definitely influence the decision here for Wuthering Waves. So, I guess in case for those who don't know what Wuthering Waves is, although I guess by this point a lot of I mean, people should pretty much know what Wuthering Waves is already at this point, but basically, Wuthering Waves is the next title by Kuro Game. It is an open world action RPG with gotcha elements. So a lot of the characters you'll be getting will be from the gotcha. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to Wuthering Waves because Kuro Games has been known for their excellent combat and I guess more challenging gameplay. So that is what I'm looking forward to. It's the challenging gameplay in a open world format. For the character that we'll start with, Gian, I wasn't able to really get to play him. I skipped his banner because I wanted to prioritize. Yin Lin, not Jin Lin. Yin Lin. I wanted to prioritize Yin Lin, so I kind of skipped Gian's banner, but I was able to play him a little bit in the one of the story missions that you get to play with him. His ultimate is kind of fun. His combat is very free flowing, and when you use his ultimate, it's even more free flowing against a bunch of enemies in an area. It's here you're pretty much able to really like, especially when enemies in this game they like to separate from each other. They don't really clump up. Gian's is able to like free flow from another enemy to the next, because especially when his ultimate. Now, is he a character that I will prioritize? Probably not, because I believe he is the first limited character, and I will probably be skipping him because I kind of want to prioritize Yin Lin. So in my priority for leveling a character, I probably won't have him in the start, so that's why I'm putting him at the bottom tier. Again, this is not meta, this is just my priority of leveling up characters. Man, I have a feeling like people are gonna get mad at my choice here, but yeah, the reason is like I'm probably gonna be skipping him because I'm gonna prioritize other limited the other limited banner. Now, another character that I wasn't able to try was Janjin. What I really wanted to give her a try, and I really want to play this character, especially since it's a monk combat style character. But the thing is, I felt like she was a little bit like, because my experience with her was from the story missions, and I felt like she was kind of clunky, and you couldn't really fully optimize her combat without having to charge up. There's like a lot of charging in her combat, and I feel like, especially considering the harder combat nodes or modes that you're timed in, like every second counts, and sometimes her charge attacks will have a wind up, especially for the move that generates her shield. I believe that is, yeah, that move specifically. So she is not going to be the character I picked from the selector banner, but like, I mean, she may spook me when trying to roll for Yin Lin. So if I do get her, I probably will level her. Probably will level her, but the thing is, she is not my priority to level because of how her combat is. But again, we'll see if they've made any changes to her combat, right? But like when I was doing in CBT, it felt kind of clunky, kind of. Now, another character I wasn't able to get was Yangyang. Yangyang, though, he plays really well. My problem is with him is that when you do his ultimate, it felt like a lot of his shots or attacks were missing the enemies, because when he uses his ultimate, he goes into the air, and all his combat hitboxes are moved up. So if there are any like short statured enemies, it kind of misses them. You don't really notice it too much, but there are times I felt like I'm missing a few hits, and that was one of the things I was a little bit annoyed with his combat. But hopefully they fixed it from the CBT. But based on what I felt, I would like, if I had to pick, I would prefer to level up Janjin over Yangyang. Most of these characters, they're fairly rated low, is because I wasn't able to really get hands on, because I was able to get into the CBT, sure, but you're not granted full access to the characters. You have to gacha for the characters in the CBT, so I couldn't really try out every character. But anyways, so those are the characters that I wasn't able to really get much playtime with. Of course, so now we go to the main character. I feel like the main character will really be one of the characters that you will prioritize leveling, because one, the main character, you're able to progress their levels and skills fairly easily. The rover tutorial. The reason for that is because a lot of the skill materials and ascension materials that you will get are given to you from doing content in the game. So the rover will pretty much be one of the characters that you will easily be able to level without having to use too many resources to level the rover. And not only that, he or she feels really great to play, unlike some other gacha games where the main characters don't really feel like they are capable in terms of combat. uh, they just feel really good as a character. So I'm glad that they're making the main character feel very powerful, making their combat very flexible and very appealing at the same time. But this will definitely be one of the characters that I will definitely level up, like right away, since of course that's the character you get from the start. Now the next one, the next character, Encore. Encore was the first character I got from the beginner banner in the closed beta, so I did have quite a bit of experience with her combat in CBT2. She's actually quite a lot of fun. I do like characters that have ultimates that empower their regular moveset, and that's what Encore kind of does. When she has her Resonance Liberation, which is her ultimate, she basically goes in a kind of berserk mode, and like most of her attacks are enhanced, which I like. There is a concern though with her heavy attack, because her heavy attack roots her in place and you're not really able to move. So like here, she is rooted in place. The thing is though, she does get damage resistance, but I feel like there might be, like, especially if you're trying to do like not get hit by some of the enemies, and some of the enemies like, or the harder challenges can really hurt a lot, and if you're stuck in place, you're just waiting for a pummeling pretty much. So still, I think she's a very fun character. Her main mode of combat is pretty much using her puppets, and then when she goes into her Resonance Liberation or ultimate, she does have a more melee combat kit, so the variety is nice. So at her normal, she's ranged, and then when she is in berserker mode, she's more up close and personal with regards to her attacks. I would prioritize leveling her definitely over any of the other characters. Of course, I don't want to level up too many characters at a time, but like I'm just ranking them for now, and then later I'll give a summary on which specific characters I will focus on. But yeah, that is pretty much Encore. So next up, Tochi. Tochi is a 4-star unit. She does havoc damage. Tochi, if you enjoy the kind of like counter attack gameplay, she uses like kind of like a great sword and has really heavy hitting attacks. And then what her skill does is she creates a shield, and then when you get attacked while the shield is up, or when you're in the state rock steady shield state, you'll be able to kind of counter. So Tauchi's gameplay is kind of reacting to enemy attacks, but still she does quite a lot of aggressive combat. But yeah, you cannot also like to fully utilize her, you'll have to be able to do heavy attacks and parries, and making the most out of her shield mechanic. So she's a very technical player, but I feel like at the beginning, there's a lot of downtime in her DPS because of waiting for the right moment to be able to activate the shield. So at the beginning, maybe not really a recommended character, but like I could see maybe like leveling her up in the future, because you kind of want to level up teams. And you know, right now our options are limited, and I want to make a full team of like each element. But in terms of priority, I will probably put Tauchi around B. I can see me leveling her in the future, but that's already once I've had certain characters established already. Yangyang. Yangyang is a 4-star arrow unit. You do get her for free. She has a skill that can bring enemies together, especially in this game, especially in the open world, a lot of the enemies are split from each other. So taking them out quickly, having Yangyang bring them together using her skill ultimate to bring them all together, and then taking out the entire group of enemies in one go would make it easier. But being one of the few arrow characters, I mean, I will probably level her up eventually, but she just won't be a priority for me too much. So if I had to choose where to put her, I think I'd put her. But that's probably why I'm putting Yangyang quite low, because I don't plan to roll for Gian, which means I won't really have much of an arrow team that will be available. Next up, Beidou. Beidou, I feel, will be very important because she is one of the few healers in the game, and if you don't get Verina, Beidou will pretty much be your only healer character, and there definitely be some content where you do want a healer on your party, especially when starting the game, so that you don't have to worry about just dying to a stray hit here and there. So having a healer character that is leveled will definitely be beneficial to your early game experience. Thing is, Beidou will probably be my only healer for a while, unless I get Verina from a spook, but I am not planning to. I'm planning to pick somebody else from the beginner banner. So whether I get Verina will probably affect what I will do with Beidou, but like right now, based on how I plan to do it, Beidou will probably be a character that I will level up early on, because just to keep my team topped up during my exploration. So where is Beidou? Here we go. So I would definitely level her up pretty early. And as we go from Beidou, we go to Verina, who is the 5-star healer. She is the Spectro. How would I say this? So she pretty much is your healer, but what also makes Verina very good, as you could probably tell from a lot of the other people doing stuff, Verina is also a support unit and a buffing, or basically she buffs your party. All she needs to do is just use, I believe, her skill, and she pretty much buffs the entire party. So how you could use her, you don't really have to level her up completely right away. So that means she would be very minimal investment to get the most out of her as a support unit and a healing unit. So if I am able to get Verina, I mean, I will level her up, but it's not too much of a priority, because a lot of the things she can do, she can just do it quickly on field, then swap her out very quickly. So if I were to say, she would be, like I will love, like if I am able to get her, I will level her up, but it's more on so that I get access to her skills and her passives. That would be the only reason why I would level her up. I wouldn't level her up for like maxing her out. It's just to take advantage really of her as a support and a healing unit. But like, I feel like DPS units would pretty much be my priority for leveling up characters. Okay, next we have Chiia. Chiia, I'm so glad that they gave her a redesign. Like, I remember when they first unveiled her, she looked like she was like Tifa, but with with pistols instead of being a close ranged fighter. But with her redesign, like, I really like what they did. I feel like Chiia is gonna end up getting the Amber treatment from Genshin. So what is the Amber treatment? She's basically gonna be brought around in the party for exploration and puzzle reasons, not really for combat. But I do really like her combat gameplay, though. I will say that I really enjoy her combat, and I would level her up for that reason. But the thing is, the problem with not just Chiia, but pistol users is that they are unable to parry. Unless I'm missing something, but I've never been able to parry with gun users. I think they probably just don't have the ability to, or I'm just not doing it right. I don't know, but like I just can't seem to get it to work. And also another thing I guess is Chiia has this move with her skill where you hold down, like what she's doing now. You're holding down the resonance skill, and then she starts blasting away at the enemy, and then you have to time it right to use after like using like 30 bullets, and then you have to time your next attack so that she launches a stronger bullet shot to finish off. And that move I feel like is a little bit downtime on DPS, but who knows, maybe they will fix the damage values, so just doing that will be able to still keep up with her damage. We'll see. But like I would definitely level her up because I enjoy her gameplay quite a lot. But yeah, the problem is with Chiia is that she is unable to parry. That's the one concern I have with pistol users in general. Their inability to parry. Yuan Wu, another character you can get for free, at least based on the closed beta, and I really like how this character looks. And because Yuan Wu is like the basically third character, third electro character, he is one of the characters I do plan to level. But in the same vein as Verina, like I feel like in the early game, since I am limited on resources, I'll be focusing on other characters. I would just level him to like unlock at least some of his passives and skills. Because what I would just pretty much do is use his resonance skill, which plops down this pillar for some stat bonuses, and then that's it. And then switch to another character. But I really like his combat animations. It just looks really good. He's probably one of my favorite characters to like just play as. But there are like, of course, there are other characters that I do like more. But like, I just really like how his combat feels, how it looks, how powerful his attacks feel, especially with his resonance liberation. Where is that? Oh, and also when he has a full charge with his lightning infusion, his attacks just feel even more like have even more impact to them. And then of course his ultimate just feels very gives like the feeling of one punch and then they're dead. So yeah, I really like his combat animation. So I would definitely level him up. As much as I do like him, he's not like a priority. There are so many things I could say about him, but like right now, like he's not a high priority. Okay. Don't worry, hopefully this will all make sense once I go through all of the characters. Hopefully. Next up, Sanwa. Sanwa is definitely a character. I enjoy her gameplay because of how technical and flashy it looks. And there's a lot of timing that goes into her attacks, especially when she's using her resonance skill and resonance liberation. But a lot of her attacks, or her resonance skill and resonance liberation, will leave these traces of ice on the field. And the 4-day circuit is essentially the bar at the bottom of the screen. And Sanhwa's, I feel, is like the most, what do you call this? Most active, where you have to pay attention on how the bar works, because when you use like your resonance skill or resonance liberation and then the ice is left on the field, you need to match the timing so that you can detonate those ice shards and it will do ice damage basically. So you have to pay attention to the timing with her with regards to that. And then I will say I really like her character design. I will also say that. So now, as for priority and leveling her up, I will probably get to leveling her up because I do like her character design and combat. Now, okay, so we're at Yin Lin. Okay, so she is the reason I am skipping Gian. And she apparently will be the second limited banner. I was kind of hoping she would be the first limited banner. But she is not necessarily a DPS. She is more of a sub DPS. Because of the way she tethers enemies. And the more... Wait, let me fast forward here. And when enemies are tethered, you can see there, when enemies are tethered, you can doing damage to one enemy will cause lightning strikes to hit other enemies. So in a sense, she is still able to do damage to multiple enemies, even though she, like for example, like if one of the enemies are split, she's still able to do damage to multiple enemies, especially when she does her Forte circuit, which was the AoE lightning. All the enemies start getting hit by lightning strikes, even if you're only hitting one. And of course, I really like her design. Now, Yin Lin is pretty much like I am gonna go all out trying to get her, and she is the main reason why, the character that I will be trying my darndest to summon for in Wuthering Waves. So a lot of the reasons for leveling characters are revolved pretty much around her specifically. Now, Dungon is a 4-star. She uses the sword weapon, and she is a havoc type or havoc element damage dealer. What makes Dungon different from the other characters is that she, like, her resonance skill does not have a cooldown, and instead you're able to spam it as much as you want. But the downside to that is that she will sacrifice some of her HP every time she uses her skill. But she does have a way of recovering HP. Based on her Forte circuit. So basically, whenever her Forte circuit is full, you do heavy attack and a normal attack, she will recover some of her HP back. And then her Resonance Liberation is a fury of swipes over an area. So she's one of the high risk, high reward kind of characters. So that's one of the things that I think a lot of people will use her, especially for solo runs. And if you don't get hit, then you won't have any problem, even if you don't have HP, right? So I can imagine like people will be doing no hit runs. I feel like she will be one of the characters that I will prioritize, but that's like after I've already focused on my primary targets for leveling. Now, Alto is the other arrow unit, but again, as I mentioned with Yangyang, I don't think I will prioritize an arrow team for a while, because one, again, I am probably going to be skipping Gian. And now, as for Alto himself, he is another pistol user, and again, pistol users can't really parry, but because of how his skills work, you do have a bit of leeway, especially when it comes to fighting bosses, because bosses will target his clones that he releases with his element resonance skill. So you don't have, like, you can kind of use him to play safe when fighting against the boss. That does kind of bring him up in terms of utility. But for me, honestly, he's not really a character that I'm gonna prioritize leveling. So, yeah. Okay, who is next on the chopping block? Mortefi is another fusion pistol user. So it's not like, again, like Chiia. Actually very similar to Chiia, but I believe he better damage output because of his Resonance Liberation and skill. Even though I did have him, I wasn't able to use him as much because I kind of prioritized using Chiia over him. He has the problems of a pistol user, and I don't really know if I would prefer to use him. Unfortunately, this, like as I said in the early portion of the video, this is not based on meta. This is based on what I plan to do when the game releases. So again, with Mortefi being a pistol user, a fusion pistol user. Honestly, I would prefer to use Chiia, but I can imagine him definitely being higher on the ranks for meta. But again, I don't really believe in meta in the early game because I would rather just play characters I want to play. Now for Karo. So Karo is pretty much, yeah, this is gonna be weird Inception stuff, so never mind. Anyways, so Karo will probably be, or will most likely be, the character that I will select in the beginner banner, because he will pretty much be my main DPS to be paired with Yin Lin. And so because of that, he will definitely be a character that I will prioritize leveling. Okay, there we go. So this is pretty much my priority. With my experience with PGR, because of how content is done in PGR, there are a few things that you have to do to be able to fully get like the weekly rewards and such, which I think will probably have a role to play here in Wuthering Waves, especially with some of the harder content. So my plan is to level like 1 or 2 characters just so that I can get through some of the harder content to be able to get the rewards, as much of the weekly rewards as possible. Because if I spread myself out too thin and level up too many characters, I won't be able to get further with some of the harder game content. So normally you would need like multiple teams, and a way to do that, also based on Punishing Riri, when you need to have element teams. Mixing elements does not really work, I believe, especially since they've changed the way elements work in Wuthering Waves. Unless, of course, they change it back. But I believe before, in the earlier game, there used to be like the whole element system, concerto element system, but I believe they've changed that in and used the intro outro skills instead. So rather than mixing elements, you kind of want to prioritize building mono element teams. And the lightning team is one of the teams that can have a complete full roster. So you would have Yin Lin as your sub DPS, Karo as your main DPS, and then Yuan Wu would kind of have also a sub DPS role, but he wouldn't be on field as much, and that kind of rounds out a complete lightning team. So that's one. But my priority for leveling up characters would be just Karo and Yin Lin, because I can't spread myself too thin on leveling up characters. I will be picking the male rover, so this is just to make it easier for my brain. So another character that I will be prioritizing leveling will be the male rover, since the male rover is easy to level. You won't use as much resources for leveling up the male rover, which I think is nice. And also his combat is very good. He has a few buffs that give him, or a few passives that give him buffs. I could see him being a character to easily level while still being very powerful at the same time. Now the thing is, there really isn't a complete Spectro team yet. That's why right now my priority is the Lightning team. And then I will move on. Once my Lightning team is completed, I will then move on to other elements. But just so that I'm able to complete content, I will focus on Karo's 1 DPS, the main character, or rover as another one. And then, depending on who I get from, like, I'm I don't want to lose the 50-50 trying to get Yin Lin, but assuming I get one of the other 5-star standard banner characters, I'm hoping I get Encore, because Encore is a fusion damage unit, and I feel like she will be very good. It's just the problem is that her gameplay is kind of clunky. So, but like this is also a situation where you have Encore, then Chiia will be another fusion unit, and then Mortefi as another, I guess, sub DPS unit. So there's another fire team right there, right? Now so Lightning team, Spectro, you can't, I guess Verina and MC already would be a good pair, and then you can just slot in any other unit, I guess, to bring with them, but you don't have a complete Spectro team. Sure, I could build an Arrow team, but again, I am not gonna be summoning for Gian. Like, as much as I would like to get Janjin from the beginner banner selector, the problem is I feel like her kit was kind of clunky in CBT2. Who knows? I might hold off to see how, if they've made any changes. I mean, but then again, the Arrow team is the element that has the most characters. So you have Alto, Yangyang, Janjin, and Gian. I have problems with how some of the characters play at the current state, or at the CBT state. So we'll see. Now for the Glacio team, honestly, I didn't like his gameplay because it felt like a lot of his hitboxes were missing, or attack boxes were missing, because when he uses his ultimate, he gets carried up into the air, and it feels like the attacks are not reaching the shorter stature enemies. But who knows? They might have adjusted that already. But honestly, like, the only characters I like from Glacio are Sanwa and Baiji. So if ever I do get him, sure, I'll level him up. I feel like I would just prioritize Baiji and Sanwa, who are two characters you do get for free, rather than leveling up the 5-star. And I feel that's weird, right? You're leveling up the 4 stars instead of leveling up the 5-star. So as for the Ice team, yeah, I don't know if I would really level that up. So Lightning team, I'm okay. Spectro team, sure, you can do like a 2-man team with Rover and Verina. Fusion team, if I get Encore, okay, sure, but that's not really a priority for me. Arrow team is probably be the hardest team for me to level. And then Glacio team, I would rather just level up the 4 stars, honestly. And then for Havoc, honestly, with having only Baiji and Tochi, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because Tochi is a very defensive character, while Tochi and Danjin is a very aggressive character, so they kind of work well with each other, but I feel like I would probably wait and see which other Havoc characters would. But like I'll probably wait for a 5-star limited Havoc character before I start leveling them up. Maybe Dungeon, just so that I'm able to have a highly aggressive character for the damage output. So maybe her, but like Havoc, I wouldn't level up right away. So pretty much, yeah, so that's why my list looks like this. It probably will not match a lot of other people, but that's basically my plan on my thoughts, on my thought process on how I plan to tackle the release of Wuthering Waves. I know it sounds like all over the place, but that's just pretty much how my mind works. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree. It's fine. You can feel free to leave comments on the VOD when they upload this on YouTube. I'll be sure to go over them. But yeah, like I'm sure, I mean, they have mentioned that they will be buffing some of the characters. I'm sure they will be making quite a number of changes with some of the characters. This plan is not set in stone, but this is what my plan is going into launch at the moment. Of course, it could change depending on if they will give characters buffs, nerfs. I don't think that they would give characters nerfs though, but we'll have to see. But yeah, in summary, I'm going to be focusing on Karo and Rover and Yin Lin for the characters that will be like pretty much the main, like my main roster of characters that I will be using to clear content. And I will be focusing on leveling a lightning team. Baiji is definitely a character that I will level since she is the healer, and you get her for free. If I am able to get like Sanwa and Dungon, I'll just level them just for fun. Also with Encore, but like I won't like anybody aside until I get to a point where like if I don't have extra resources, I probably won't level up too many of the characters again because your resources are limited. You have to really be sure on who you want to prioritize, and pretty much my priorities will be those on the S tier. And then if I just feel like it, or if I want to try out other characters, maybe the characters on A rank would be characters I'm willing to spend resources on. But yeah, like right now, Gian is like, if I mean, who knows? Like maybe I do one multi for Gian and I get him. Sure, he would definitely be here, but I'm pretty much skipping him to prioritize Yin Lin. So, but yeah. I know this was it'll probably be very confusing and very weird way of doing like a tier list, but this is pretty much my thought process on how I will go about preparing when the game launches. So feel free to leave a comment down below, and well, I'll see you on the next one.